OK。おはよう。Sorry, starting with a yawn is not a good thing today. Good morning, online. Hope you are well. Hope you had a good weekend. So, I'm going to start with, I was in two minds whether I wanted to stream this morning. And it's not actually because I was tired or because I was just struggling to be motivated. It's because I'm frustrated. I have been trying in all the spare time I've had over the weekend due to an injury to figure out why I'm getting this 401 on this particular service. And I'm kind of stuck on the plan on the process. You know what I need to do? I need to remember that sometimes people do actually use the fact that I post in Discord to tell them that I'm going live and not forget to tell people I'm going live in Discord. Anyway. I hit a few. Okay. The 401 problem that was hitting last week has not been fixed. I have not solved that problem. So I decided what I would do is I'd make sure everything was updated. Maybe I was missing something. Maybe there was something that could benefit from some updates. So I ran the NuGet package update to make sure everything's up to date, which needs to be done anyway. I'm not gonna roll back that. There's no way I'm changing that now. And what it revealed was that the Ocelot library introduced yet another breaking API change. All good. So Ocelot had previously required me to do this to get this to work because although the author of Ocelot said there was no changes around this, I had to do this to make this use the address rather than the cluster because it was using the Docker IP address for resolving the services. But the author of the library was like, nope, that's not right. Nothing changed there. I'm like, but it's breaking. It's giving me the wrong data. Anyway, in a 00 point X release, so a minor release, they changed this API. And so no matter what I do here, right, which is how it was originally, no matter what I do there, it doesn't use mine. It doesn't work now because it now screams about load balancers and stuff. So now resolving in Ocelot is busted. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm done messing with Ocelot. I know that I've got a lot of time and investment in Ocelot. I use Ocelot because it uses console to get all the addresses and stuff, and I'm going to have to do all that again, or I'm going to have to hard code all the addresses for right now. I'm done. So I had to redirect my effort into getting YARP working. So YARP, yet another reverse proxy, is another library. I believe this is constructed by Microsoft. I think it's an internal project. I could be wrong there though. Let's validate that before I state a lie. YARP. No, Microsoft GitHub. Yeah. So YARP can solve many problems. It is primarily a reverse proxy, but a function of a reverse proxy can be API gateway. So I can configure the reverse proxy. It can resolve addresses. Everything's hard coded. It's a little bit more patterny. The console, rather the Ocelot library uses different patterns and focused on the verbs rather than the actual paths. So this might pose some new challenges, but I got this generally working. So now we've switched over to using the API gateway for YARP. So there's going to be some configuration challenges there eventually. And I'm going to want to put that into console because I want to resolve. I don't want these hard coded in my configuration file here. I want these to be dynamic based upon console. So, and I haven't found any console implementation for YARP configuration yet. So guess what? We might add another open source project to the list of projects. However, it doesn't solve my problem. I still have my 401 unauthorized. So when I try and call my tasks API through the proxy, hello, bud. Come lay down. Sorry, random dog talk mid sentence. My attention span is on solid form today. When I call, this is through the proxy, so I've set it up exactly the same, so I don't have to change anything else. So now 7285 is the YARP proxy, not the Ocelot gateway. I still get 401. So I've spent all my weekend trying to identify how to validate that. Because of the way this is now set up, there's no authorization. Oh, Lambadoo, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. Hope you're well. Hope your stream. Or Lamidoo. My apologies. I assume that's pronounced Lamidoo, not Lambadoo. How was the stream? Learning Blazor. Sure, I have to go. No worries. Thank you very much for the raid. Have a good one. Catch you again sometime. Okay. So I have spent all weekend, and I'm not joking, all weekend, because again, I have picked up an injury, so I have been sat at my desk for most of the weekend, trying to muddle through and figure out not just, I don't want to just recreate this thing, right? I don't just want to recreate it and rebuild it from the ground up. Because I've validated the configuration. I've validated. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll see you again. Take care. Yes, thank you for the raid. Thank you, online. What have you got in your mouth, dog? Come here. Come here. Come here. Don't be chewing stuff. That's how you get sore mouth. Okay. So I don't just want to recreate this. I want to understand what's going wrong. So I spent a long time trying to diagnose what is validating incorrectly. What tools are available to me to identify the specific reason why this is failing validation. And what I've learned is there's not a lot of tools. You can, if I go into, let's collapse them. What you can do is if I go into Auth0 here, I can add a options.events and I can do bearer events and I can listen to on challenge, on authentication. That's authentication, not authorization though. On challenge. On challenge is meant to tell me if there's an authentication error or an authorization error. There is no authorization error in there. So there's nothing I can put here. At add authorization, I do not believe there are any events I can listen to. right? I'm not sure what invoke handlers after failure means. You can also go here and say app dot use, right? And you can say if um, you can get an idea of whether they have authenticated or not. That also does not tell you anything about why you get a 401, but you do get told there is a 401 there. So here at the events, there is no 401. That says that that's authorized and authenticated. And down here, you get, yeah, it's unauthorized. That's it. If I change this line and say allow anonymous, this code fires. So it's definitely this line creating the problem. Policies is an internal part of fast endpoints, right? So it's going to be in the processing of the request, which makes this very difficult, right? Lay down, bud. Lay down. So yeah, I'm struggling to figure out how to properly diagnose and debug this. But it's something I'm now kind of laser focused on doing because I think it's a useful exercise for me in understanding that pipeline and understanding fast endpoints more. However, I have spent I don't even want to know how many hours on this part. Um, See, I've used this method. Um, it doesn't even it doesn't even tell me why. That's the problem. So even if it comes back unauthorized there, it's not telling me why it's unauthorized. What I'm looking for is what about my token is invalid. So if I go to here, the app's running, so copy that value. That's still valid till 3 p.m., so that's fine. Put that in there. This should give a 500 because it's not running. So it's definitely getting to, bad gateway. So it's getting to my tasks project. But if I start this up, if I ever start this up and it just works, that's the worst possible scenario. I've implemented the get so that I don't have any other side effects, but yeah, there you go, it's running now. Hey, Ian, how you doing? That's a huge job. Yeah, I've got permissions and the tenant in there. Ultimately, this needs to be removed. This is what I want to break out to be because authorization shouldn't live in there because I don't want auth0 handling authorization. I only want it handling authentication. But that's a challenge for another day. How's things? So again, if I put so now I get 401 unauthorized, and I've validated multiple times that if I just switch this out for allow anonymous, this will work fine. So it's definitely the policies preventing it. But there is no difference between this setup and this setup. Yeah, there's nothing different between the two. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I have been stuck on this for far too long. Many streams now and many hours over my weekend have been spent trying to figure out what tools I can use. I just started the stream and identified um, the API gateway. I've had enough of Ocelot. Ocelot's going in the garbage, but it means I'm ending up building my own gateway using YARP. So I've got a lot of stuff to look forward to there. Ocelot made another breaking API change in a point release. So I'm done. The author of that is um, difficult at best. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong on the policies here over start that project. I'll just go, it never changes. eh, I don't know. If you start using Microsoft SQL and then you go and you pick up uh, Postgre or MySQL or Oracle, there's enough changes there to make it kind of confusing for a while. If you pick up PL SQL in Oracle, so I think it's time to look at. I think it's fast endpoints open source. Yes, it is. I think it's time to look at figuring out if there's anything. Minimal API is made easy. Source. Someone's still got to figure out how to do. There you go. DWT bearer. I'm not using it to build these things. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Am I missing something stupid here? No. So the 401 unauthorized can throw really quickly from fast endpoints. We've seen this before where we've used the wrong configuration for something or the wrong address, whatever. It can throw up a problem. In this case, I don't think I've made a request problem. T-SQL, P-SQL, different beast. I mean, I made the standard grammar SQL. I know. I know. You're not wrong. It doesn't change much. There's a standard, and most of the structure of how to write a query is the same. You don't have to worry about frameworks built around frameworks on top of frameworks. Boring guy, hello. How are you doing? So what I'm looking for here in this code is really how do we auth missions? Nice. Good to hear it. authentication, add JWT auth. This is actually adding it in, so you can set up fast endpoints to do all the token generation, but I'm using an existing token, right? So I'd assume though it'd be in here. Create token. That's all for creating a token. Middleware. Auth. Extensions. Request handler. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to identify where in the fast endpoints code does it do the authentication authorization to return the 401? If I can understand that, maybe I can dig in to understand what I'm doing differently. Actually, let's do auth extensions. That's not that. Definition anonymous verbs then. Oh, tell me. Hold on. Hold on. No, because the get's doing the same thing. Post. There's a method on the class, right? Hey, Delta, how you doing? Endpoint. Wow, that uses a lot of partial. That's a lot of partial. So my instinct there was, hold on, have I got, because that's been a problem before where the verb hasn't been clear. So to not allow you to override. Yeah. So I've spent so I still have not fixed my 401 problem. Nice. Thank you, one line. One line is performing the role today of developers.stream. um, that's what I want to ultimately do with developers.stream, right? Where it will do that. Point send. HTTP response. Security processor. It's interesting. What is this? Pipeline behaviors. Either way, many things can send forbidden async. Endpoint test. So it's only endpoint send that's going to be the problem. But that's for me to use. So what I'm trying to do could be a good view of project developer stream website. The intent will be to build developers.stream on the TBD Friends repository so it can take PRs. Yeah. So what am I missing here? Thinks that for fast endpoints endpoint. That's to avoid collision with that. But let's do that right a second. And then let's run that again. So the problem I'm having again is I've compared the projects, I've compared the code files, I've compared between this post here in planning items and this post here in tasks. I've compared them multiple times. And I see no difference. I don't see any difference in the configuration of fast endpoints. I don't see any configuration differences in anything. But time and time again, I get that 401 back. So I'm missing something. There's something I've configured incorrectly on this one, right? And actually I just changed the post, so still 401. So there's that. If I go here, stop this running, and do allow anonymous, right? So that tells it there's no auth on this piece. And run that now. I go to the get. We get 200 OK. So it's definitely 100% the authentication or the authorization validating this thing, right? This is a working API. If I put a breakpoint there, I go here, I will hit that breakpoint. It's fine. So it 100% is something to do with the authorization within the configuration of the authorization within the system, within this API. Again, I'm kind of using this as a challenge to understand a little bit more about how to diagnose this issue. So yes, it's frustrating. Yes, I've spent days on it. I've got stuck. It's realistic though. I don't know. I've tried to research logging. I've tried to research tools for getting insights into why it fails. Maybe this is a PR they can make against fast endpoints to provide some sort of middleware that provides more context to an authorization failure. But the idea is here that I should be able to do this. And application policies is not a real thing. That is this here. So That's just a name for that. And again, I've validated that the same token works for planning. I've created planning items, I've updated planning items, I've fetched planning items. So I know this works. If the token wasn't working, even the GraphQL piece wouldn't have worked. I also hit the issue of having to replace Ocelot finally, which has caused me some more pains. Do you use CQRS that often? Hey, Alamio. I mean, in this application stack, I would say I'm using it quite a lot. Across here, really trying to lean into that command query separation quite heavily. If you have any questions on this, if you have any thoughts or opinions on this, I'm more than happy to chat about this as well. The 401 is frustrating, but it comes second to anything else. So if you have any questions on the overall design, etc., you're more than welcome to ask. So I don't understand why this is now throwing 401 when this doesn't, right? The namespaces are all correct. I've double checked them. And I've hit this before where it's been my naming has been wrong. Hold on. My naming has been wrong. Tasks. No, because that's planning item. It's not a gateway problem. Because this is tasks catch-all, goes to tasks catch-all. Hold on. No, because I just proved it. This routing is working because to get to that API endpoint, I have to go through the Does it matter the inheritance is different between the two classes? Different where? The endpoint generic is different. Is it? Planning items. Might be that one. Endpoint without request. And that the get and post are different because the post is taking data and the get just returns data, right? I don't often have gets at this layer. This is just a test to validate the it can work without anything else. Sorry. Both of them. This breaks it. I'm getting a 401 back. So it's getting in here. Again, I've validated that it will get in here if I allow anonymous. So it's the routing is 100% functional. It can resolve the sender because it can construct the class. That's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find so again, I've spent most of my weekend focused on this and replacing Ocelot. But I'm not bitter. So policies just configures the policy names. It's an array of strings, right? So pre-built user policies is used somewhere. So now it's the problem is figuring out where in the pipeline that actually fires. So that's why I was over here in the code. Ads are going to start in 3 minutes. If you are affected by the ads, I do apologize. They do allow me to keep the pre-rolls off for 40 minutes though. So if you are watching the ads, I do appreciate it very much. Okay, so pre-built user policies, main extensions. Pre-built user policies count as greater than 0, then policies to add range pre-built user, right? Policies to add. Then select authorize attribute, covariant array conversion. So we translate this to authorize attributes. Hey, buddy. All scheme names for attributes are authorized. Policy P. If ep auth scheme names is not null, if ep allow roles attributes. So we return a list of authorized attributes. And then we if def anonymous verbs contains verb is true, allow anonymous, else require authorization. That does that. That's on HB. HB is app map methods. I've tried debugging that, but it doesn't. I can't figure out how to get into the pipeline. So what it looks like is that fast endpoints is actually just a yeah, just sits on top of minimal API, right? So I'd have to get into here. So this is a require authorization against a map method, which is actually a minimal API endpoint piece. So I'd have to debug down into the .NET code. But I can't intercept this unless I have a handle or something to jump into, and I don't have that available. So it doesn't. I've hooked into all the suggested points for figuring out where an error occurs, and it just tells me 401. It doesn't throw an exception. Diagnose 401. But now I know it's a complete wrapper around minimal API. I thought it was actually request pipeline stuff. I didn't realize it was minimal. It was actually underneath the hood, all minimal API. Probably this not exception. Add problem details. Let's try that. I don't think that's going to do much, but builder.services.add problem details. Let's see if it gives me any more information. So I've basically spent what I could do is rebuild the project. Just delete the project and rebuild it and build it up bit by bit by bit by bit and validate that things are working. But that does not give me the education nor the tooling to understand how to diagnose that problem if I hit it in the future or whatever. Like wipe it out and start again is not the best answer here. If it works, that's going to be my go-to answer going forward, and that's not necessarily good if something was to occur in the future where wiping it out and starting again is a more expensive task, right? No, we get nothing. So there's absolutely zero debug output. You can see here in the gateway we get 401 back. So the project gets hit, it creates the 401, but it gives me no information whatsoever. Let's go back to this, add problem details, configure. Yeah, that's not what we want. Use exception handler. That doesn't. I have seen the request headers. Yes, the token is there. It is provided. I can see that with if I do app.use, I can do that and run that. This allows me to add into the pipeline. Is it bearer? And if so, be pass activities to make sure that there's a correct policy. So the policy comes from me. I define the policy off a list of permissions. So you see the request comes in. Here's the request. Request has headers. Headers has token. There you go. Although, hold on. Why is that coming in like that? That doesn't look right, does it? Tell me. Does not have undefined in it. My understanding is it should. Look where I pasted it. You don't need to bark. Cheap viewers, thank you. I wonder what will happen now. Why did I think that that was right? So that is, I've pasted it in there. I've got used to the way the screen looks, or I've made an assumption about the way the screen looks, and I've pasted it into prefix, whatever you want to call it. In both cases, not read the labels because I've been so used to my workflow that I didn't even question. Loki, you're good. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. Surprise. Oh dear. Exactly, Delta. There was an assumption the problem wasn't in the request. And I'd looked and seen the token. So that's why I wasn't even questioning that, because I looked and validated the token. Like I'd seen that you saw it said undefined at the end. The token was still there. So to me, it wasn't broken. So what the problem there was is I put it in the prefix. What I was so it was just then when I thought, hold on, shouldn't I see bearer? Had you logged the request? But that's what I was trying to figure out. Where do I log these things? What is the good pattern? What are the tools available to me? So it's not wasted effort necessarily. I mean, it's a lot of wasted time. It's not a lot of wasted effort though, because again, I've had to dig deeper into understanding how these things are built, what tools I have available to me to identify more information. Realistically, there's not a lot in here. You have to kind of try and import things. So, well, but again, logging the request when, how? I'd made an assumption the request was good. I'd seen what I thought was a valid request. I'd discounted that piece already. So I technically validated the request. I had to go and dig deeper. That was on me as a failure of me to validate that I was doing the right thing. But logging the request doesn't necessarily fix that. So the assumption was because it was new code that it was broken there. And not because the idiot at the keyboard pasted it into the wrong field. But all things aside, you're going to see a lot more of that from me when I start streaming my work products. In any case, stepping away from my second and last cup of coffee of the morning. No worries. I'm human. I'm not gonna say that that'll never happen again. The reality is it will do. It will happen. I will make silly mistakes. I've done them before, and it's why I stream. Like I'm not perfect. Maybe when we get to it, we'll look at what, because I do agree, Delta, that logging the request in some way, shape, or form would have allowed me to validate that independently of the actual application. I could have looked at the requests, validated. I was seeing what I was expecting to see. That's just an education from me that, like, I was missing the prefix, right? The tool automatically prefixes bearer when you don't put anything there. So what was happening was I pasted it there, didn't read these labels because, I don't know why. And it, I think probably I thought prefix token. So I made an assumption about the UI based upon my understanding. So yeah, that's why the same token would work when it was in the application because the application wasn't doing it wrong. So let's delete that. Right. We've now put that in the right place. So what else did this allow me to do? Well, it allowed me to identify that Ocelot is going in the bin. It means that I'm going to have to build a lot of infrastructure that I didn't want to build. But I've built this application around Ocelot as an API gateway, and now that's not working for me. So I've created the YARP gateway, so everything's replaced out, and I'm going to have to struggle through the challenge of making sure those requests are now mapped properly, and I'm not missing anything. Ultimately, we'll create console version of YARP extensions so that I can pull the configuration and resolve the IP addresses, so I don't end up with this. So I updated all the NuGet packages. YARP, Ocelot broke. Ocelot going in garbage. YARP is the output of that. Obviously, it's working. I'm not doing auth on this now, whereas Ocelot could previously do auth. I don't need to panic about auth on the gateway right this second. Ultimately, when this goes to production, I'm air quoting production there, by the way, there will be the auth will be a different challenge anyway. Okay. That moves us forward a bit more. To be honest, I'm kind of glad I did that on stream. I know that I'm embarrassed by the mistake, but I'm glad I did it on stream because it's just yet again sharing. Just because I've done it a while doesn't mean I'm good at it. Great task. So, did it work? No. The entity task requires a primary key to be defined. If you intend to use a keyless entity type, call has no key. Okay, so the good news there is we actually got in here, we got to add task, we got to create here, and we got into the actual thing. You just scared the dog. Let's go to ls tasks and go to tasks. ID. So the problem there is because tasks will be quite a heavily used object, I decided to make it a long ID, which is fine. It supports that. Do I have to configure that? Builder as key, K goes to K dot. Is there a problem with that? Planning, infrastructure, configurations, planning item, tenant identifier. Oh, we will need that as well, won't we? Because I think, yeah, that's tenant identifier title. Body. Entity task requires a primary key to be defined. If you intend to use a keyless entity type, I'm not sure where I am failing to do this. I wrote a blog article this morning on ChatGPT this job of giving feedback. Nice. Feedback in what respect? Huh. Interesting. I'm not sure why. Oh, I'm now completely thrown off because I'm not applying configurations and stuff. That might require me to actually restart everything because now it's confused because I'm running the main application stack, but then I'm stopping and starting the specific piece. Let's type, give me feedback on this article and paste the article. Now, what sort of feedback did it give you? Like, this is not working correctly, or this doesn't make sense, or the structure's incorrect, or whatever. More professional and casual tone is needed. More prof. Ah, huh. Have to give that a look. Okay, we can stop running everything. Let's start tasks independently right this second to validate this. API only. duplicate. Seven oh seven nine. Okay. The entity type task. So it's trying to create a task and it is failing. It's failing on that. However, contexts, task to be context, apply configuration from assembly. That's necessary. That shouldn't matter. The base on model creating shouldn't really make a difference. I mean, it's good practice, but it's not necessarily going to make the difference there, I don't think. We'll find out. That's interesting, running the article through there. And I wonder how many people let company secrets out into the world because they paste things like that into ChatGPT, thinking that it'll help them identify stuff. Requires a parakeet to be defined if you're going to use. It surprises me with continuous stuff it can do as well as its misuses. Yeah, but I would imagine like if a company's trying to prepare and like a CEO or something's trying to prepare an email to the rest of the company, and they use ChatGPT for something like that, and that information is now public domain. There's a lot of the latter. I'm trying to get it to code for you. I think trying to get ChatGPT to code for you is just something that you have to learn that it's not really good at doing. That you still have to put the effort into understanding what the heck's going on. Builder has key. What am I missing here now? So I never specified the key in this one. Right, because I specified that in the base. So I don't need explicitly that. Every time someone says it'll be great, then I try it and it falls so flat I realize it's not even worth even the starting point. So far I like GPT-4, or rather, I mean Copilot in this particular instance, however that's backed, for it's pretty good if I've written some code and I'm going to do something similar. It's pretty good at getting close to what I want. But again, you still have to understand what it is it's putting in there. How people lead company secrets for the webhook test service. Hey, Viljanama, how you doing? So this already does the has key with the property, has field. So it's already doing that piece. So don't need that. Task has to be context. I am winning at this today, aren't I? I find it if you try to get it to output a lot of code, it'll generally not good enough code. It looks good enough. Right. You shouldn't trust what it's giving you. You should validate and you should understand. It's a good learning tool. And like I said the other day, it's kind of like Stack Overflow 2.0, right? The webhook test service that is really convenient to use. So many people test their webhooks with that and forget to remove it, but no webhooks ever will send sensitive info. Oh. Ah. We do a lot of things that are insecure during development and then say we'll do them later. Well, as developers, we generally do a lot of we'll do that later and never do it later. Come on, next idiotic mistake. It's around here somewhere. So the entity-based type configuration configures the entity class. So we know these 4 fields exist. Then we call configure impl. So the rest of the fields that we need on this specific entity are handled. Has foreign key k task ID with 1 task. But we've defined that. Like not updating the library because it's so time intensive and unfun to do. Yeah. Like, you know, Ocelot, they updated, let me show you, right, API gateway. So this is the Ocelot library that I used, right? They updated to 0.4 from 0.3, right? And broke their API, which I find frustrating. So what they did is this changed in here. So this broke. So all this piece broke. This was a hack because in a previous release they started using the Docker address as the service address, but apparently that was my fault. I broke that. And then this entire parameter was completely different previously. It went from being a func of console registry configuration to a HTTP context accessor. Oh, you know, that's why we put things off, because if that actually changed, if I actually upgraded that point release and our application was in production, I'd revert back to the previous version and be using the previous version, the last known good. So then I'd be scared of updating that in the future. But updating all the libraries at once is a lot faster than one at a time, though. But that's the problem. You introduce a problem with a library update. So the bigger the project gets, the more dependencies you take, the more fear it introduces of change. And if you've got a fragile library like this, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just don't understand enough about Ocelot. Maybe I just don't understand enough about the development process of Ocelot. But if you start reading online, you pretty quickly find that Ocelot's not very well respected for their development practices. So now I have to move away from that. So I've got no choice. Now, obviously, I'm not in production. So this is an easier choice to make, right? I can move to YARP and I can start building the components I need. Better just move to Dapper. That's a whole different context. YARP's part of Dapper. YARP's used in Dapper, right? Now move to Rust. Yeah, scrap the entire technology platform. We're done. I messed up my knee this weekend, so I've sat down a lot this weekend. Is Rust the biggest meme language? Ruby on Rails. I wouldn't be opposed to using some Ruby. I kind of liked Ruby. Okay, so one problem was pebcac. I find most .NET libs to be pretty good at avoiding breakages on minor scale. I think for me it's the fact that the API on the object that I had to use to fix a previous problem that they denied was a problem that they'd introduced in another point release. It broke again. So that an actual API change to something on a point release seems dangerous. Rails has too much magic. Hi, Sally. I tried building an application with the Cursor AI editor as an experiment. I ended up legit getting lost in my own code base, not being able to reason about certain decisions. Just end up pressing apply to the AI recommendations instead of the trial and error. But I think the trial and error is really needed. I can't imagine this stuff being used reliably in enterprise code bases, unless the dev really knows what they're doing. And that's the problem, right? The devs should know what they're doing. We shouldn't be relying upon these tools to build code bases, no matter how confident we are that they could be close to functional. Um, yeah, we don't care about backwards compiling, at least. Ruby does contain, or Rails does contain a lot of convention magic, and you have to kind of know that it's doing. Oh, it's because this is named this way, or this is structured this way, or whatever. It's like that I don't like. Maybe just a skill issue from my part. Like Dot says, I doubt that. Yeah, lost my own code base without AI. Yeah, it's. I do like to chat with using it as a rubber duck, using it in Dota's case of validating something is more readable and more approachable. Yeah, using it as a Stack Overflow 2.0 where you kind of asking contextual questions of it and saying, "Hey, I know I want this thing. Help me get there." I think that's okay. Um, relying on it as a tool to do the work for you, I think that's a bad step. Like Active Record, I have no clue what the database structure is once I look at the database. Yeah, Active Record's a bit scary. Yeah. So I was saying this to my wife yesterday because we were talking. She found um, Josh plays drums or whatever and does a lot of reviews of like drums along to AI generated music stuff. So she was finding them hilarious. Um, but I was saying like the difference between AI, like people just think AI and they think it's going to steal all the things. Yeah. I get the artwork challenge, I get the music, the creative challenge that it can combine things and it can um, make things sound and look and seem like they're generated by a human. I get all the protection stuff, but some of it is useful. Brainstorming things. Yeah. You'd have to listen to some. Um, I was trying to demonstrate to her last night, and I did one, and the music sounded very, very, very familiar. So, yeah, I'd say it kind of remixes it. Um, I already don't watch movies. Feel free to wreck those. But I think we might get a reversal of that process in a few years. It might not turn out great. Morning, Mojo. I don't know. I don't know where AI is going. Um, I think education on what AI really is before, you know, I think that's a very important step to educate people as to what AI actually involves. As what time. No worries, Dota. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Take care and have a great day at work. Um, Mojo. Shout out to Mojo, who streamed again yesterday for the first time in a while. Writing a kata or writing tests for a kata on stream, which was very interesting and quite the experience considering you hadn't done it before. Did really good though. It's got to get more confidence in those tests. AI animation. That's a isn't like Will Wright's ultimate spore. um, not only can you create these creatures randomly, but now you can actually they'll animate in a really decent way as well. I did add them and then refactored a little bit of code. Nice. Again, unit tests aren't a magic fix for everything. They don't make everything super stable. You got to grow your confidence with them. But as your confidence increases, your ability to refactor and stuff will increase, and you'll identify the gaps. When I think animation, I think like game animations, walking, running, as such. Yeah. Okay. Why is this breaking now? What am I doing wrong? I think I've gone so far down the path of one wrong problem that I'm now stuck fixing the other things I did to try and get this to work. Yeah, task repository. I've got everything lined up. Let's validate this runs. We should get into the configuration. Yep. Builder. The entity type task requires a primary key to be defined. If you intend to use a keyless entity type, call has no key on model creating. Okay, you're driving me nuts. At what point doesn't it have a primary key? Task is an entity base of long, which is an ID of long. Ow. I'm not gonna lie, all AI talk I see everywhere on the internet, like X, YouTube, etc., kind of scares me as junior dev. That's finally fixed. VS Code C# dev kit for Blazor. Actually usable now. Nice. In what way does it scare you, Sally? Um, most of my YouTube content is either .NET stuff from like Nick and a few others, or Amichai, or it's right now it's Gran Turismo or food. People like it'll make everyone obsolete. Yeah, and I don't use X anymore. I refuse to use that platform anymore. It won't make you obsolete. Not for a long time. We'll I don't believe AI will get anywhere near. It might help with some simple tasks, but people like us are still going to be required for a long, long, long time. Again, I think there's a few practical applications. I think from a assistant standpoint, AI is useful. But I don't think there's anything to be scared of. It's definitely something to go. Um, I'd say if I was starting out, maybe I'd learn a little bit more about what is possible with AI and kind of get some knowledge in that field. Mainly because I think the problem is it's going to taint the talent pool for a few years. A bunch of people that rely upon AI for doing what they do. So you're going to end up with some developers that are not quite as good as they might come across. Is that how you mean? Yeah. Um, Developers that just jam code in and make it work. We have to deal with them now. But I think from a expertise standpoint, understanding how AI works and understanding its applications and stuff, it might be a good differentiator. Um, um, if you're going into a business and they're asking about uses of AI and stuff, being able to say, oh, well, you can use it in this way, you can use it in this way. Your products could benefit from maybe this, and like using that as a method of getting the door, because I know a lot of companies are interested in what AI means for them. I'm my former employers, I definitely think they would probably be looking hard at AI. Scrum co-founders using many models together, he only feeds the data from each into others. It's hard because AI does not refactor. You just get three of the same function in a file that's named differently. I've been assessing that in code reviews already. Ugh. From your developers, you've been seeing it? If honestly, if I started to see that sort of thing appear, I'd be like, knock it off. Not acceptable. Yeah. That's an interesting name. Collector. You're stuck on an island and have a lighter knife or gun. How long? Um, okay. I really want to get, if I can get this working, I can put the UI on top of it and get this done in a stream. That'd be awesome. That'd be a step forward. I'm not sure what that has to do with software development or AI. So getting the feedback. Also, they're disabling lint rules. And when I asked them why the AI recommended it, I was like, what? Also, sorry for bringing the combo to AI. Gonna just no need to apologize, Sally. That conversation is well within topic of this stream, right? It's something that affects us all. It's something that we all have to deal with. So no worries. I think it's a very valid thing for what we do. Well, thank you for the look. I do appreciate it. Um, uh, sorry, Mr. Anhorn, I'm stuck on the AI recommended it. You're a contractor hired for development, not for using AI to do the job for you and tell you what to think and do. You know exactly what lint rules do, and why would you disable them when it's an organization standard? Why is this breaking? What is going wrong with this? Um, the entity type task requires a primary key to be defined. If you intend to use a keyless entity type call has no key on model creating. So the only thing I could think there is that I've used the wrong task, but No, task. I'm very specifically saying that task means that task. Associate projects. For anyone new to the stream, I am building an agile. I'm going to get away from the word. I'm building a project management platform for planning and work management for development. And I need to avoid the word agile, I suppose, at this point. Which reminds me that I don't know. So if you are interested in what I'm doing, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, or you would like to dig deeper, you're more than welcome to ask. I'm happy to show the code. I'm happy to show the what I can about the UI right this second. So do not worry about distracting. I'm doing a good enough job of that myself. Yeah, right. But the AI can get behind it, feeding it vector index and questioning the data. The PLC is really cool. Another relevancy score, and it gives some really good insights into our client's data. Huh. Like, again, I think generating insights, looking at code sets, and looking at data sets, and gaining more insights into it is a very useful thing. It might spot things that you don't spot. It might tell you things, but again, you've got to be able to understand what it did to get there, and not just trust it blindly. And I think that's the problem we're getting into, is like, especially in the case of if a contractor is accepting, oh, it said not to lint. Sorry, why? Like, that is not acceptable. Why is this? The entity type task requires a primary key to be defined. If you intend to use a keyless entity type, call has no key on model creating. What? Did I do that on model creating? No. It's definitely on model creating. 100% on model creating, because I copied and pasted it from the other one. So what did I do wrong? Public. So public db set tasks. Task here is the wrong task. That's the problem. This is the challenge I'm going to face time and time again, trying to use the correct terminology for something like this. There we go. There's the problem. So even though I'm going to hit pain points calling it task, because it conflicts with a language, a framework principle, or a framework concept, being that I'm referring to them as tasks on the front end, until that changes, I'm going to keep having this problem. But it's better to represent the code in the right language than it is to change this because it's not a task is a task. The task does not have, it's not a planning item task. It's not a ticket task. It's not, it is a task to do. It is a piece of work. So that's a challenge. So what was happening here was, yeah, I was configuring it, but that task is not that. Yeah, the relationship from associated project task to a task associated project with foreign key properties task ID cannot target the primary key because it's not compatible. So that is because associated project here. That's a long. Yeah, striking the balance between mentoring and just doing it myself is hard. The time I take to explain the refactor, I could already be done with it. Yeah. Well, the hope is that the one time you do it is enough to the next time you don't have to do it quite as much. There we go. Finally. I said the hope, did I not? uh, quick fix, probably bad solution is have each task project reference the projects that shouldn't be using it. Circular reference will prevent the wrong task from being used. Yeah. Circular references, they answer everything. Okay, we have a task. Awesome. We have progress. Yay. Well, let's commit everything before I break it and mess something up again. Oh dear. Uh, might be a case for global using with an alias for either your model and the framework task. I just wouldn't know which one's for alias globally. Um, that task is, yeah. Create problems require creative solutions. So, yeah, I considered the global using us doing something like it and redefining it somewhere in the actual code. But right now, I don't have the overlap between anything actually returning a task and being a task, right? So, like, I don't have that challenge. Um, so I figure that when I actually find that conflict, then I'll figure out what I want to refer to it as. But again, I still want to refer to these as tasks because for right now, this component of the system is tasks. That's what we're referring to them as, so that we're not using the word story. The planning item has requirements. Requirements generate tasks. Tasks can be generated as standalone items as well, which is why they're not planning item tasks. Um, so yeah, it's kind of all part of that same, yeah. Use the correct task when configuring DB context. Set up additional fields for task ID and created a user, which should have been populated there. Yeah. So again, I don't need to know anything about the user. I don't need to know anything about the tenant in this component of the system, right? So it's okay for me to apply the GUIDs on these tables. I don't need to know. I can't go into the task system and identify the user. I need the rest of the system to tell me that information. So, and I kind of like that design. I like the fact that the task doesn't need to know all that information. Set up additional fields for tasks with tenant ID and created by user. It means that if there's an invalid user, if a user has been deleted from the system, say, um, that poses a little bit more of a challenge because then when that data publishes, it's going to pull the created by user and do an incorrect join. So it's something I need to be aware about later, or tenant or all sorts of other things. So, but worry about that when it comes to it. Okay. The other problem was pepcac. Updated ocelot lib broken API. Remove in future release. I need to make sure that I capture everything that I'm doing in ocelot before I get rid of that fully. These are all library updates. That's the view. So let's remove that a second. Then introduce tasks layout for like that. Begin using YARP as API gateway as Ocelot. Okay. Update to latest get package. Not quite that commit, but we'll squash them anyway, so it's fine. So the to do there is I very much want to create a configuration that will build. So the way this would work would be it is going to load the configuration from console, then resolve the endpoints and load them. So it'll use console to request all the endpoints and stuff. So I don't quite know how that's going to work, but that will be the goal, so that we can create a console loader for YARP, and then we'd create that as a separate project and open source that piece. But right now, I have to accept that I got to make some progress, and for right this second, that is going to look like this, where I set the paths and stuff in here. Okay, so let's stop that running. Let's edit the configuration, collapse that, multi-launch, full stack, tasks, task project. After previous started, apply. Start all the APIs up first and then the receivers, that's fine. Export. So the benefit of the way this works, I like that the to-do is going to pop up every time, is I can run the full stack. I can run the bare view is just if I want to do read only, essentially. That's actually read only. That's useful if I just want to test that the client's running, so the bare minimum, and that should be YARP. Should create that. Add that. Export read only view. Run. Right. So that means if you check out the projects, you get the run files and you could actually just run them, is the way I believe that works. But right now we need full stack. We've got everything in there. This is going to take a minute. So this is not going to be perfect. This is going to error, I believe, on the client, but it would be nice to know at least if I get close. You have to debug those YARP issues now, where the paths aren't in place or whatever. The configuration for YARP is going to be smaller because whereas with Ocelot and I was storing like, oh, if I'm updating the planning item, adding the planning item, there are different routes there. YARP is just saying, okay, here's the start of the path. Now everything after it just gets passed down, which is exactly what I was doing anyway. So it benefits me there. So, okay, let's see if this even loads. Is that part of that? Yeah, 404. 7285 GraphQL. Okay. So it should be able to stop. Let's not remove it outright yet, but gateway. Let's stop that gateway. Let's go here. So we're saying anything API or anything GraphQL is going to go to GraphQL, and that's going to be 7086. So let's start that up again. No. Oh, there we go. Yay. Past due. So everything's past due right now, right? So introduce developer tasks. I think we're doing this. So this is in progress, right? That's probably going to oh no, that succeeded. I mean, yeah, that succeeded. I'm a professional. We also want to move that to be this week. So we're going to say developer tasks is going to be done by the 9th. So because we're going to see backlog, create a task, etc. So that's the current one we're focused on. And this promote, I think we'll move this to next week. Now I do have Friday off this week. That's going to be an advantage, but we can move that to the 14th. So that's becoming there. And yeah, so we should be able to go here and go to tasks. So now this is what we want to focus on, this add task thing, right? So we want to be able to add a task. So that's if we can get to that by the end of the stream, that's awesome. So let's go over to the UI. So a task has a title. Right now, a task has a title and a description. This is a very common thing. So let me check that. And let's is almost identical to add requirement. So we're gonna do a bit of stealing. That's okay. This is description though. They're both required. Description. And in here, form group, import reactive forms module. So learn this is not, it's private. So I probably shouldn't be using that, but every example I've found suggests that. So I've got to figure out how to replace that at some point. And that's description. I'm going to remove, I know that it seems like dumb when I know that I'm going to have I'm going to need to manage this task. So why call it add when I'm going to have to do something similar? But right this second, I'm not going to panic about that part. I'm going to I'll come back around to that later. Okay, so that rebuilt, we go add task. Obviously that's labeled wrong, so that is description is required, and that's going to be task description help. So task title. Oh, task title. Okay, it renames there. This one doesn't rename. It doesn't. There you go. It doesn't recognize it. Okay. Again, if you're copying and pasting, got to at least do the basics of making sure that it's not just a straight clone. Test, create, hello world. Okay. So let's get that functional. So what we're moving to here is actually a need for new stores because the stores tasks are not the same as planning items. They're completely derailed. They're disconnected. So stores. Services. So the service for this one, we go up here. Let's create this. Store services. Let's do service tasks. Let's get tasks. Should create task service, not just tasks. Yeah, task.service, yeah. And there we go. Task service. API URL is fine. And then we're going to do, I mean, it's essentially something like this. Add task. Yeah, models are created at the stores level. So models. Goes. Again, any questions about what I'm doing? More than welcome to ask. So this is going to be maybe. We haven't got to assigning a user yet, so we're not going to worry about that one. We don't have a review date on these at this point. We don't have projects. So right this second, all we have is ID, title, and description. There will be more. We'll be adding a lot more. Things like the review date, we're going to talk about whether that's required as a concept on the task. But assigned to is definitely something. And as Dota mentioned, right now, if you're using something like Jira, you can only assign a story to one person at once. But I think they have introduced the ability to attach multiple people and somehow. Because I swear I've seen like multiple blips on the story, but I haven't personally done that. So, but regardless, that would be a useful thing to do, right? So, this is going to be the task, and tracked entity response. Where's that? Right, the second that needs to move. That is in shared already, so we're good there. So that is task and cannot find name task. That's going to be fun. That's going to be task title, task description. We can remove the rest. We're going to rely upon the system to populate ID afterwards, and that is going to go. Where are you going to come from? Import. There we go. Why was that so difficult? I'll worry about that later. Let's do this new file index.ts export star from that way we can just do that. So if we have other models, that's dealt with. Okay, so we have the endpoint there. What if we have there's no tooling for it. So yeah, so this would be tasks dot store. Yes. Okay, so this is tasks store. This is signal store. Editing root. So I'm still trying to get my head around some of this stuff, right? So these are features. We don't need to worry about the features right this second. We can build these out. This is just kind of a bundle of stuff. So the store can have many facets to its state, like whether it's being loaded or not, whether it's got data, what data it's got, you know, again, like refresh and request status, with entities, right? So again, I can say with entities task, right? That's why it's conflicting. Yeah. Same problem on the client side. So that says I'm going to have tasks as entities here. By default, anything, this is a built-in signal store feature, but by default, everything that has to have an ID on it for it to track it. I think you can override that. So yeah, you can build a feature that describes the state and everything like that. So I'm still trying to get my head around what that actually looks like. Essentially, that is kind of the state. Then you can do with methods. So here we're going to do with methods. Then we can do tasks. Service equals inject task service. Right, and now these methods can be dealt with here. IT support. So this isn't quite correct. So the way this works is when I call add task, it's expecting me to pass a task in. I call the service. When it does that, when that's happened, it will patch the state in the store. What's that complaining about? I don't need to worry about that. It's because of this. It will patch the state of the store with that entity's result. But I don't want to make that just that. So, okay. And anyway, I'm adding this add entity task, and this task.id equals result.identifier. Right. I'm actually patching the. That's that. That ends that. That ends that. That ends that. What don't you like about this? Patch state does not exist on type. Why don't you exist on type? What am I missing there? Store with items right. Patch state. Oh, you don't need it on the store. You pass the store to it. See, AI helping me out there. Its API was incorrect. So that's that, 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 that. So we're setting the ID based on what we got back and then updating it into the store. Now we can refer to this task, even if it's not made it the full round trip, right? Because I don't actually publish this yet. So I should be able to create the task and see it appear in the tasks database, but I don't have the view. That's what tomorrow will be. Copying the upgraded responsibility was cancelled. Interesting. It's going to be interesting. Okay. So from the client perspective now, from the views, components, add task from here, we need to inject the store. Read-only store equals inject task store. Then if this dot form group that is valid and valid. Dot then this dot form group dot there's a way of doing. How do I do this? I do this in the form for manage requirement. Disable, there we go. That's what I want to do. I want to disable the form group. And then like that. Add task, create, update, no, publish integration event when task added. When a task is created, the domain event is published. Assume the domain event, and publish a new task integration event. Kafka. I highly doubt that worked. Might doubt it, but it did work. Nice. There we go. So we have a task. We have that running through. So tomorrow, we will focus on introduce developer tasks. So we've created the new area, right? We've essentially got the blank screen. On the dashboard, we get a button. We can, right now, we don't have assigned team or projects. Projects matters more. Assigned team does not matter. So assigned team does not need to be there. Update that. Have we still got issues with this? Yeah, we still have issues with this. Joy. I started reading Dependency Injection Principles, Practices, and Patterns, just a little bit of it every day before going to bed. Pretty good so far. Have you read it? Dependency Injection. Maybe. I do have a lot of books. I do have a backlog of books as well. I have a backlog of everything. Because there's all sorts of things I want to get to. And I just broke that, didn't I? Did that just outright fail? That's so Sally, what sort of stuff are you taking from that so far? Requirements. I'm scared to see what the cognitive complexity. Oh, I didn't test that out yet. I'm looking at this, right? I think the cognitive complexity is going to say really, really bad. If it even finishes. I don't think it'll although I think there's I think I think cyclomatic complexity might actually not have a high value, but I think cognitive complexity. I almost swore then. $52,000% higher than the recommended complexity. Hello, buddy. You okay? I don't even know where to go from there. I don't think, yeah. Well, that's 6 pages in, but I feel like I've already gotten a better understanding of the purpose of DI and how it relates to coupling, etc. Nice. I think for me, I those sorts of books I struggle with because I've kind of figured out how to do a lot of things without understanding the technical underpinnings of them. Then I go back and understand some of the technical underpinnings of how, and the why has kind of just come along for me. So um, it's just my learning, I suppose. But that's cool. That is cool. 6,300 on Cyclomatic. Dear. That's incredible. That is incredible. Okay. But anyway, um, sadly for me, like right now, I have a day job I need to get to. Um, so I will get running. We're gonna go to Andreas. I know there's only a few of you left, but Andreas is doing fast endpoints. So yeah, we're gonna go right over there. I never read usually. Yeah, I've spent so long just trying to muddle through stuff, and yeah, because again, the technical underpinnings don't always bother me too much. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow. We're going to get the tasks display working. We're going to get the list of tasks. We're going to finish out these items for this planning item, and then we're going to start shifting towards the next phase, which is to get the tasks generated from the requirements, which is going to be a lot of UI work to try and get that visualization there. So yeah. Don't forget the one stream that you won't self promote. Uh, one line streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. One line will be streaming later on today, streaming um, financial management tracker still right now, and then looking at what comes next. So very worth watching if you like .NET development. But we're going to go see Andreas. Andreas is actually currently working on fast endpoints, which I thought I had a problem with today. So depending on how the upgrade goes. So thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye all.